Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas. I'm Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight is on the Russia-Ukraine war. While we decode the latest for you, we also tell you how Russia and Europe could be edging towards the havoc of a bigger war, a war that threatens to engulf the entire European continent. That's coming up in just a bit, and here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We get you the latest on Typhoon Ragasa and the trail of destruction left behind. We also tell you how in Bosnia, NATO and EU peacekeepers joined forces with the local police for a live fire drill. We get you the significance. All this and more coming up.
Millions of people in this open border policy.
Russia and Europe seem to be edging towards a bigger war, a bitter war, a war that threatens to engulf the entire European continent. And time for NATO seems to be running out. First, have a look at these visuals. These are from today itself. While Donald Trump delivered sermons and issued warnings from New York, Russia seems to be quietly capturing more and more territory from Ukraine. The entire eastern front of Ukraine is crumbling faster than the American president can get his European allies to prepare against the Russian threat. But will that be enough? That's a question only the NATO can answer. Already, Baltic nations are fortifying their defenses against alleged Russian drone threats. And today itself, Russia has said that they have captured a large part of the northeastern Ukrainian city of Kupiansk. Already, Russia controls nearly 20% of Ukrainian territory, 20% nearly. And they plan to advance much deeper into the Kharkiv region. Europe is watching in horror, biding their time in a way, wondering if they are next. From the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, countries bordering Russia, Belarus, Ukraine are dealing with the spillover from the Russia-Ukraine war. Staring at the brink, it seems, of a wider and more intense war between Russia and the NATO. Across different parts of the continent, preparation for the potential conflict seems to be underway. Estonia has started expanding fortifications on its border with Russia. Authorities there are constructing fences, anti-tank barriers, and underground bunkers. Officials say these steps are necessary to guard against potential escalation. And the preparation goes far beyond Estonia, by the way. In Germany, its armed forces are planning on how to treat as many as 1,000 injured troops per day should a large-scale conflict between NATO and Russia break out. The German armed forces are closely monitoring the Russia-Ukraine war and incorporating lessons that can help them constantly adapt their medical training. Listen to this.
Können wir unseren Frieden nur
Given the ongoing acute threat situation, we can only maintain our peace through credible deterrence. Credible deterrence requires readiness. I just mentioned that readiness requires equipment, personnel, training, and proper practice.
Richtig. Üben, üben, üben.
And in bordering Poland, the country is working towards training every adult male for war. While Norway, that shares a nearly 200-kilometer border with Russia, is looking to restore old military bunkers and has made it mandatory for all new buildings to include bomb shelters. Tensions between Russia and the NATO continuing to simmer. Just earlier today, Spain's defense minister's plane suffered GPS interference while flying over Russian territory. And over the past few weeks, there have been a series of Russian incursions into NATO airspace, including when nearly 20 Russian drones entered Polish airspace, an incident that Estonia said revealed dangerous gaps in NATO's air defenses.
When we talk about the lower altitude detection capabilities, then definitely all the NATO countries have gaps there. We've seen that also in the Polish incident. Most of the drones were not detected, and this is a real gap we have to solve.
Defense ministers from NATO's eastern flank are expected to meet this Friday to discuss a joint plan for a so-called drone wall along the bloc's border with Russia and Belarus, a drone wall. Political leaders are reinforcing the need for readiness. Finland's president, meanwhile, has said that security guarantees for Ukraine require readiness to fight Russia, adding that the NATO must maintain a credible deterrence. In a post on social media, US President Donald Trump said he believes that Ukraine, with the support of the European Union and the NATO, can win back all of the territory that Russia has taken since the war started. The Kremlin has now rejected those claims. Officials in Moscow insisted Ukraine cannot win back lost ground, dismissing Western optimism as misguided and defending the war as strategic rather than aimless. And with Russia gaining more ground in Ukraine and NATO reinforcing its preparations for a wider conflict, it seems the question for Europe is not whether the tensions will persist, but whether they are actually prepared for the battle. A monster storm is on the move. Super Typhoon Ragasa, the world's most powerful tropical storm this year, is wrecking ball of wind and water in different parts. And now it's unleashing its fury on mainland China after tearing through Hong Kong and killing 17 in Taiwan. Nearly 2 million people in southern China have been evacuated. The powerful typhoon hurtling into one of the world's most densely populated coasts. These are the latest images from South China, where powerful winds are wreaking havoc. The typhoon made landfall in Guangdong province, a home to tens of millions of people, and the region where massive parts like Shenzhen and Guangzhou are located. The deadly typhoon battering China's Macau Special Administrative Region and the southern port city of Zhuhai. Severe flooding brought the city to a standstill. China's Marine Authority has issued its highest red wave warning for the first time this year, as the typhoon charged towards the densely populated Pearl River Delta. The storm left behind a trail of destruction in Taiwan. A natural dam holding back a recently formed lake collapsed a day earlier. It unleashed 68 million tons of water, flooding the nearby Guangfu township. These are the images of a major road bridge flooded after a barrier lake burst in Hualien. Several sections of the crucial bridge are missing. Barrier lakes are formed when Rocks, landslides, or other natural blockages make a dam across a river. They are normally formed in a valley, blocking and holding back water, hindering or even stopping natural drainage. Many residents in Guangfu, an eastern town in the beauty spot of Hualien, have said that there was insufficient warning when the lake overflowed.
The officers from the Criminal Investigation Unit were shouting along the way, telling the remaining residents that the water was coming and drop everything and quickly go to higher grounds. They urged those who have the second or third floor to go upstairs. Honestly, I can't believe that the kind of scenes we saw on TV during a tsunami in Japan were actually happening right in front of us.
Earlier in the day, the storm lashed the international finance hub of Hong Kong. It brought violent winds that ended up impacting the trees, ripped the scaffolding of the buildings, reaching maximum gusts of 168 kilometers per hour across all of Hong Kong. At least 90 people were injured. 885 people took refuge in temporary shelters across the territory. Dramatic video going viral online, showing waves crashing through the glass doors of a seaside upscale hotel in Hong Kong. Huge waves can be seen gushing into the lobby and sweeping people off their feet. This year has been particularly stormy. Hong Kong typically experiencing about 6 typhoons annually, but this typhoon marking the 9th typhoon so far this year. Climate change is making storms of this scale not only more common but more powerful as well. And as Taiwan assesses the damage caused, Ting Liu taking stock of the situation on the ground.
We are now covering from Hualien Province, Guangfu Township, and I want to take you to see this really very devastating view. You can see actually fresh flood water coming up and flushing down. This used to be a farmland, and far across you could actually see how these houses were basically submerged in heavy mud. And this mud, a thick mud, grey mud, very dirty mud that actually came because due to a lake barrier that was broken yesterday at the top of the mountains. And we are actually seeing this flood water keep pushing themselves down, and this has created a lot of damage to this township right here. We are actually seeing a lot of aid coming into Guangfu Township with including the Ministry of Defense, and we are also seeing a lot of civil defense, police, and basically the help personnel. They are here with all their tools and their shovels and trying to help people out. And right now, we only have to pray for the best. Ting Liu covering for TBS from Taiwan.
In Bosnia, NATO and EU peacekeepers joined forces with the local police for a major live-fire drill. The exercise, part of Operation Quick Response 2025, tested coordination, combat readiness, and rapid response in crisis situations. Take a look. And before we go on any further, here's a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We're getting you a detailed story on poverty in Pakistan reaching 25% of the population in 2024. This is coming up right next. Why did Russia send mice all the way to space? We get to the complete story on The Experiment. You don't want to miss this. We tell you all about a groundbreaking discovery in Argentina of a brand new species of dinosaurs. All this and more coming up. Pakistan's setbacks never end, and now, according to the World Bank, Pakistan's poverty has risen again, reaching 25% of the population in 2024. That's nearly 1 in 4 Pakistanis living below the poverty line. The World Bank citing economic shocks, floods, weak structural reforms as the main reasons. But it's a fact hardly disputed by anyone that many of these economic shocks and structural challenges are a result of the Pakistan government's own failures. Be that political instability, frequent changes in the government, military rule, high political polarization, they all create policy inconsistencies and other foreign investment and deter foreign investment as well. Even the World Bank report pointing to weak fundamentals, low productivity in labor-absorbing sectors, poor public services, limited access to education and training. Many who escape poverty remain just above the threshold, leaving them vulnerable to the economic disruptions. The study used Pakistan's national poverty line, international measures suggesting even higher rates. The advisor to the finance minister acknowledged recent setbacks, but said the government had expanded welfare programs, invested in job creation, and was working to better target the subsidies. Saying, and I'm quoting here, these priorities are aligned with the broader reform agenda, ensuring that Pakistan not only cushions vulnerable households against shocks, but also creates the conditions for inclusive and sustained poverty reduction. In fact, that's what the government says, but here's where Pakistan actually stands. Unemployment remains at 8%, adult literacy around 60%. According to the IMF data, Pakistan's inflation rate, based on average consumer prices, has risen by 5.1% over the past year, which just tells us how much pressure there actually is on the household budgets across Pakistan. And if that was not enough, remittances, the lifeline for millions, slipping from $3.2 billion in July to $3.1 billion in August 2025. For the youngest, in fact, the most vulnerable, around 2.14 million children are suffering from acute malnutrition. Pakistan is also relying heavily on external credit, with $6.69 billion in outstanding IMF loans. And while the government says it has expanded welfare programs and invested in job creation, challenges remain. For example, security concerns. In recent months, Pakistan, the terror exporter, has itself faced a rise in terror incidents, so-called terror incidents, including the bombing of the Quetta-bound Jafar Express, which injured at least 12 people. And then there is this week's military airstrike in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The military airstrikes targeting Tehreek-e-Taliban bomb-making operations reportedly killed 30 people, including civilians. A major surge in terror attacks and the swelling number of civilian casualties propelling Pakistan to the second spot on the Global Terrorism Index 2025. In 2025, there have been over 1,000 terrorism-related incidents in Pakistan. These incidents posing more questions about Pakistan's intelligence and counter-terrorism effectiveness, because while ordinary Pakistanis struggle to make ends meet, Pakistan's military's coffers seem to be getting bigger. It's no secret at this point that Pakistan military continues to hold significant business interests. The Fauji Foundation, which is controlled by the Pakistan Army alone, is valued at nearly $6 billion, and numerous other military-linked companies dominate Pakistan's economy. Even as ordinary citizens face rising food and fuel prices and job insecurity, it's because of this that even the United States has recommended placing Pakistan's defense and intelligence budgets under civilian oversight in order to improve transparency. The situation is clear: rising poverty, limited access to public services, high inflation, increasing security threats, and most importantly, the Pakistan government's misplaced priorities are all converging to challenge Pakistan's path to stability and growth. And the government could do better by focusing on the welfare of its citizens instead of actually depriving the people on the ground of opportunities to grow. Instead of exporting terror and filling up the coffers of military generals, this is the terror state of Pakistan we are talking about. Our next story is about a major row that has erupted after Republican Senate candidate Alexander Duncan made a highly controversial remark about a 90-foot statue of Lord Hanuman. His comments have sparked a lot of outrage, with critics accusing him of promoting religious intolerance. Duncan raised concerns about the statue and went so far as to assert that the US is a Christian nation and that such symbols of other faiths should not be allowed. Naturally, the outrageous remarks drew immediate criticism online. Leading the charge, the Hindu American Foundation. In a formal letter to the Republican Party of Texas, they demanded that the party take action against Duncan, calling his words a direct violation of its own anti-discrimination guidelines. They also pointed out how Duncan's comments seem to disregard the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. Despite the growing backlash, though, Duncan is unapologetic. He maintains that his comments were not intended to target Hindus, but rather to express his concern over what he views as the moral decay of the nation. He claims his remarks are no way anti-Hindu. He went to the extent of saying, I'm quoting here, "We know what happens when a nation worships man-made idols," quote unquote. And while the anger over his comments mounts, what's also happened is that this controversy has put the spotlight on the Establishment Clause, which is part of the First Amendment to the US Constitution. It prevents the government from endorsing or promoting any particular religion and protects the right of the Americans to freely practice their faith without interference. Duncan's refusal to apologize is only making matters worse, adding more fuel to this fire. Just for context here, he is a Republican Senate candidate from Texas. He is running on a platform focused on faith, family, and individual freedom, and has a background in law enforcement. Where do the drug lords live? A rhetorical question with no definite answer, it seems. But the Colombian president seems to be sure about the location, which, according to him, is next to Donald Trump's Miami residence. Let's break this down for you. In a bold and fiery statement, Petro has taken direct aim at the U.S. military strikes against Venezuelan boats in the Caribbean. He has accused the U.S. of targeting the wrong people. He claims that the real drug traffickers are not the poor fishermen struggling on the boats, but the powerful elite living in the world's wealthiest cities, like Miami, where Petro boldly suggests drug traffickers are even neighbors to Trump himself. That statement on your screen. In fact, the stakes got higher when Petro, during his speech at the UN General Assembly, escalated his criticism of the US and condemned its military strikes in the Caribbean. Not just that, he accused President Trump of turning poverty and migration into crimes. Not stopping there, he also called for a criminal probe into the actions of his US counterpart. Listen to this.
A criminal process should be initiated against those officials from the United States, including the highest-ranking official who gave the order, President Trump, who allowed rifles to be fired at young people who simply wanted to escape poverty.
That's not all. The remarks coming just days after the Venezuelan president turned up the heat on Washington. He taunted Trump's administration over the hypocrisy of drug accusations. Maduro blasted Washington's moral authority and asked them to look for drugs in their own turf and not in Venezuela.
If you want to find marijuana, look in the U.S., where they produce super synthetic marijuana, and it's legal, both production and consumption. What can they say about Venezuela? They have no moral ground. In Venezuela, it remains illegal and will stay illegal. We will never fall for the stupid trend of legalizing any drug.
Adding fuel to the fire, Maduro revealed that Venezuela is now drafting constitutional decrees to defend its sovereignty against potential U.S. military action. He accused the Trump administration of using drug trafficking as a pretext for military intervention, further worsening the tensions. And as Petro and Maduro stand united in defiance, Trump is caught in this geopolitical crossfire, with the policies now under fierce scrutiny from two South American leaders. The clash over the drug trade is no longer just about boats in the Caribbean. It's also about the fight for sovereignty and introspection. A major shift in global trade is unfolding. China has opened a direct Arctic shipping route to Europe, cutting travel time in half and placing Beijing one step ahead in the race for control of international commerce. The Chinese container ship is leading the way, operated by a Chinese company known as Sea Legend in English. The vessel is sailing from a point near Shanghai to Felixstowe in eastern England. On board are nearly 5,000 containers. And what makes this journey historic is its course, an Arctic passage that avoids the Indian Ocean, the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. This route slashes the usual 40-day journey to just 18 days. Beijing calling it a new era in shipping, and the message is clear: China intends to rewrite the rules of maritime trade. The voyage not only shortens delivery times, but can also potentially strengthen economic and security ties with Russia, as the path runs entirely within Chinese and Russian-controlled waters. Unlike the Suez Canal, in fact, the Strait of Hormuz, or the strait connecting the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean, the Arctic route is far from US naval influence. Further made lucrative for countries eager to avoid disruptions from conflicts in West Asia or attacks by the Houthis in the Red Sea. But the Arctic route has its own set of limits. Melting ice has made it usable during summer months with the help of icebreakers, but traffic is modest as compared to the southern sea lanes. And while the Suez Canal handles over 20,000 ships each year, the Arctic currently sees only a few hundred. Even so, the demand is rising. Russia already uses the route to send oil and natural gas eastward, and now China is proving it can also move container cargo westward just as effectively. From England, the Chinese vessel Istanbul Bridge will continue to sail towards Rotterdam in the Netherlands, Hamburg in Germany, and finally to a part in Poland, underlining Beijing's strategy to link its ports directly with Europe's biggest trade hubs. And without reliance on other sea routes, just for context, the fastest non-stop sea route between China and Europe, linking Shanghai to a port in Germany, takes 26 days. The Arctic path trimming that by more than a week, giving China a major edge. In the last decade, Arctic voyages have risen from a handful to as many as 100 a year. And that number is only expected to grow further. China's new shipping route signaling more than just efficiency, it signals strategy. By turning the ice into opportunity, Beijing is steadily outmaneuvering its competitors on the world's trade map. The question also is which country will be next to follow. On to some breaking news coming in right this minute. At least 20 hurt, 2 seriously injured after Yemen's Houthi struck Israel's southernmost city with an explosive-laden drone. These are the images of the moment of the drone strike on Israel. We're getting you those images in just a bit. Ambulances and teams of the Israeli emergency services deployed in the resort town. The Israeli Air Force has launched an investigation after failing to intercept the Houthi drone. 2 Iron Dome interceptor missiles fired at the drone, but both failed to take down the device as per the latest. In fact, the IDF is saying sirens were sounded in the city, warning of the drone attack. 20 have been hurt, 2 seriously injured as per the latest as a result of what's transpired on the ground in Israel. Those latest images coming to you all the way from there. The images of the moment of the drone strike also are being captured. Ambulances and teams of the Israeli emergency services have also been deployed. In fact, as per the latest, the Israeli Air Force has launched an investigation after failing to intercept the Houthi drone, a major development. 2 Iron Dome interceptor missiles, in fact, fired at the drone, but both of them failed to take down the device. So a lot of question marks on that as well. The IDF also saying that sirens were sounded in the city, warning of the drone attack. That's the latest that we have for you. We are going to be getting you those visuals of the moment when the strike took place as well. In fact, this is the latest that we're getting to you from on the ground. The Houthis striking Israel, leaving 20 injured. As per the latest, 2 have been seriously injured. This is after Yemen's Houthi struck Israel's southernmost city. This, of course, is the latest round of escalation in those tensions, which have far-reaching implications for the entire region coming at a time like this. Scientists believe we may have caught a whisper from another universe. This is not the script of a sci-fi film. A real signal that could have slipped through a cosmic wormhole. The big question is, did we just hear from a parallel world? Our next report telling you more.
It began as a tremor, a strange ripple recorded by one of the world's most advanced gravitational wave detectors. At first, it looked like the usual chatter of the universe. Black holes colliding, stars exploding. But then, the signal bent the rulebook. Its shape was wrong, its rhythm unfamiliar. It was as if the cosmos itself had coughed out a secret. The detectors at LIGO and Virgo confirmed. A single sharp jolt of a gravitational wave over in less than 1/10 of a second. Scientists from the International Gravitational Observatory now say the anomaly might be the first ever hint of a wormhole. A wormhole is a hypothetical tunnel-like passage in space-time that connects two distant points, acting as a shortcut that could allow for rapid travel across vast cosmic distances or even through time. Now scientists say that this wormhole could have carried a message, a pulse from a parallel universe, a signal not born in our galaxy, not even in our universe, but leaking in through a cosmic shortcut. Researchers say the energy spike was so precise, so alien to known physics, it could not be explained by ordinary events. The discovery, if confirmed, would shatter everything we know about space and time. Wormholes are supposed to be unstable, collapsing instantly, but this signal suggests one stayed open long enough to let something through, not matter, not spacecraft, but information. The data is still being crunched, but make no mistake, if this holds up, we are staring at the first proof that our universe is not alone. Somewhere out there, a mirror reality might exist, with its own stars, its own Earth, perhaps even its own version of us.
Half a century after the last human footsteps on Moon, NASA is readying a manned mission aiming to return astronauts to the lunar surface. But behind this moment lies turbulence, delays, costs, and also questions about when humanity will finally touch lunar soil again.
The moon, silent, waiting. More than 50 years since Apollo astronauts last walked its dust. Now, NASA is preparing to send humans back. The mission, Artemis. Its target, the lunar South Pole, a region never before explored by astronauts. This is not just about planting flags, it is about discovery. Scientists believe the South Pole holds frozen water trapped in craters, untouched for billions of years. Water that could sustain astronauts. Water that could be split into hydrogen and oxygen to fuel rockets deeper into space. In short, the moon could be the launch pad to Mars. NASA is headed back to the moon, months sooner than originally planned. The first crewed flight in its Artemis program could make the trip around the moon and back as early as February. The crew of Artemis 2 will not land on the moon, but will be the first to travel beyond low Earth orbit since 1972. Artemis 3, currently planned for 2027, will involve a moonlander variant of SpaceX's Starship rocket. The multi-billion-dollar series of missions rivals a similar effort by China, which is aiming for a 2030 astronaut moon landing. The dream of walking on the moon again is alive. The clock is ticking, and the world watches to see if this new era will soar to new heights, or if it will be a race against time, money, and gravity itself. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Russian scientists have brought back an unusual group of space travelers, dozens of mice. You heard that right. Russia sent mice all the way to space. They spent a month orbiting our planet. What was this experiment all about? Testing to see how living organisms respond to space conditions, radiation, and new medicines. Take a look. Shifting focus for now, Saudi Arabia has marked its 95th National Day with spectacular celebrations from air shows and parades to fireworks lighting up the night sky. The events showcased both national pride and the kingdom's growing openness. Take a look. A groundbreaking discovery in Argentina unveiled a brand new species of dinosaurs from a mysterious group known as Megaraptorans. Joaquin Raptor Casari, a 23-foot-long predator which has been discovered in the rich fossil beds of Argentina's Patagonia. This dinosaur roamed the earth about 66 to 70 million years ago, right before the big extinction event. Megaraptorans are known for their long skulls, their massive claws. These creatures were serious predators, by the way. Scientists uncovered a near-complete skeleton, including the skull, arm, leg, and tail bones, which is rare for this group. One of the standout features of this find is a leg bone pressing up against the jaw of a crocodile-like reptile, which could offer valuable clues about the diet. What did it feast on? Scientists are still piecing together the details and what has come out, but the discovery is also crucial in unlocking that mystery. Megaraptorans once roamed not just South America, but also Australia and parts of Asia, evolving into different species over millions of years. The discovery helps fill in a major gap in our understanding of this diverse group. The dinosaur is named after the son of one of the lead researchers. This is a huge moment and another reminder of how much we still have to learn about our planet's ancient past. Treat yourself. This iconic phrase has become a cultural mantra today, it seems. But there is a catch. Your salary goes up, your spending goes up, yet somehow your savings don't move. That's lifestyle inflation. It's not just a personal problem, it's reshaping economies. It has also led to luxury booms worldwide, even as households struggle with debt. Here's how it's silently draining your wallet and how it impacts you. Lifestyle inflation means every rise in income triggers new spending. For example, you get a raise, but instead of investing the extra cash, you upgrade your car, your house. Before you know it, that pay hike has vanished. This constant upgrade trap leaving you in a vicious cycle of lifestyle inflation. How can it impact your pockets is the immediate question. So if you are spending more than you are actually earning, or if you are relying on credit cards, personal loans, or buy now, pay later schemes to fund your purchases, these financial habits can get you stuck in a constant debt trap. If income is channeled to discretionary expenses, then there is a chance basically that you will be forced to delay your financial or savings goals. You may even face day-to-day financial constraints as lifestyle expenses edge out the essential and need-based spends. What are the red flags, you ask? Your savings don't grow despite salary hikes. Debt keeps rising to fund lifestyle, or you feel pressured to keep up with peers. A Lending Club survey found 54% of Americans earning six figures still live paycheck to paycheck. Globally, luxury spending has exploded. A McKinsey report projecting luxury goods sales to top $1.5 trillion in 2025. China and the US driving over half of luxury demand as per the reports. Travel, designer goods, fine dining are leading categories. But the overall inflation telling you a completely different story. India's retail inflation quickened to 2.1% in August 2025, snapping a 9-month declining streak. Whereas globally, inflation averages 3.3% in 2025, with food and housing adding pressure. Official data showing household debt worldwide now exceeds 200% of disposable income in some economies. So how exactly do you save yourself from the lifestyle inflation trap? Experts advise that one should automate their savings before spending, budget smarter, and cut impulsive purchases. And before buying anything, just remind yourself that treat yourself should not mean trap yourself. To what extent can you depend on AI? Can AI help you make money? Can AI help you win a lottery? And here's why these questions are being asked. One woman in the United States got extremely lucky. AI helped her win a major lottery prize. How much money, you ask? $150,000, approximately 1.3 crore rupees. That's a lot of money. Here's what really happened. According to a report, the woman in the United States used ChatGPT to select numbers for the lottery. And the set of the numbers suggested turned out to be extremely lucky for her. She reportedly asked ChatGPT to suggest the numbers, and the next thing she knows, she had won $150,000. And you know what she decided to do with all that money? She reportedly decided to donate all of it. She looked at the win as a divine windfall and wanted to use the money to help others, showing that blessings can be shared. She reportedly decided to contribute the money towards 3 causes close to her heart. What an extraordinary gesture, and what an extraordinary story. Shifting focus for now, the UAE has established 73 licensed worship centers for non-Muslim residents across its 7 emirates. Abu Dhabi hosts the largest share with 27 centers, followed by Dubai with 14, Ras Al Khaimah with 11, and Sharjah with 10. In fact, the licensing of every new place of worship follows strict federal guidelines. It requires recognized faith groups, a minimum of 20 founding members, proof of 5 years residency, financial stability, approval from the established religious leaders. The decision carries major significance in a region where such designated non-Muslim facilities remain rare. And by regulating and officially recognizing these worship spaces, the UAE is perhaps positioning itself as a global hub of religious coexistence. The country reinforced that image in 2019, when Abu Dhabi hosted Pope Francis and Al-Azhar's Grand Imam for the signing of the document on human fraternity, an event that led to the United Nations to declare February 4th as the International Day of Human Fraternity. Beyond policy, the UAE has a history of supporting diverse faith communities, like the St. Joseph's Church in Abu Dhabi, built in 1965 on land granted by the then UAE leadership, and St. Mary's Church in Dubai. That serves worshippers from over 170 nationalities in 17 languages. In the year 2015, the UAE also allocated land in Abu Dhabi for a Hindu temple for the Indian community. Regionally, very few Arab nations have taken similar steps to designate licensed non-Muslim worship centers. Oman, Bahrain, for example, allowing churches and temples, but on a smaller scale, while Saudi Arabia does not permit them at all, making UAE's policy unique in both scope and regulation, reflecting an effort to cater to the needs of its highly diverse expatriate population, especially in a country where expatriates make up approximately 88% of the population. Shah Rukh Khan, the king of the box office, as he's considered, won several accolades over the years, of course, but now, after 33 years in cinema, the Indian star has received that one award that has added another feather to his cap, a National Film Award. In fact, this win is more than just an accolade. It's the culmination of a vast and historic journey from a middle-class Delhi boy to a global superstar. The significance of this award is amplified by the path that he took and the legacy that he built over 3 decades. The actor's origin story is a tale of a self-made man. At a time when the debate over nepotism had reached its zenith, Khan's journey telling everyone the story of an outsider who has now become an elite insider. Raised in a middle-class family in Delhi, his early acting days were in Delhi's theatre and in television serials like Fauji and Circus, and he came to Mumbai driven by ambition. Unlike many actors who start off with romantic hero roles, basically, Khan made his mark by embracing unconventional and even negative characters in films like Bazigar and Dar. And this early career move showed his willingness to take risks and also to experiment, which paid off handsomely. And he then pivoted to become the king of romance with Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge. This film did not just define his career, it redefined Indian cinema, cementing his image as the quintessential romantic hero for a generation. And that journey, of course, did not stop there in any way. He continued to challenge himself with a variety of roles, and his willingness to tackle a wide range of various genres, from action and comedy to drama, historical epics, showcasing his immense versatility as an artist. For a star who has won numerous awards, both in India and internationally, the National Film Award for Best Actor was a significant and long-awaited milestone. It represents the highest honor in Indian cinema, a recognition from the government for artistic excellence. And this win is coming after a 3-decade-long career. It's a recognition of the entire journey, the initial struggles, the unconventional choices, the superstardom. Khan's victory coming in the year when his eldest son, Aryan Khan, made his directorial debut. After a grand launch, the Netflix-based series, which gives us an inside look at the Hindi film industry, is enjoying its own share of publicity. The actor shares his National Film Award with Vikrant Massey, who impressed fans with his performance in 12th Fail. Equally poignant was the victory of Rani Mukherjee, who claimed her first National Film Award for Best Actress for her gut-wrenching performance in Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway. In Uganda, endangered mountain gorillas are making a comeback. What's driving this, you ask? In one word, tourism. Only hunted by poachers once, gorillas are now being protected, with former poachers themselves turning into conservationists. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ, किसी के लिए ये विचार कट्टर है तो किसी के लिए यही भारत की आत्मा है, किसी के लिए ये विद्रोह है तो किसी के लिए राष्ट्र निर्माण के सिद्धांत।
तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये अपना हिंदू समाज,
ये सिर्फ संगठन नहीं,
अब इसको संगठित करना चाहिए।
100 बरस की तपस्या है।
हमारा संगठन तो एक अभेद्य किला है, इसके दीवारों पर चंचू प्रहार करने वालों की चोचें वही टूट कर गिर जाएगी।
एक चिंगारी से वट वृक्ष, देखिए सदी का संग्राम आरएसएस की शताब्दी पर धारणाओं को चुनौती देने जल्द आ रहा है। केसरिया at 100.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders,